the Campaign Coordinator at Kent Teach.
And I'm Jess. I am their Head of Education Recruitment, also at Kent Teach.
So our webinar today is going to give you a bit of an insight into the support roles that we offer on Kent Teach, and also the roles that are available in schools. It will help you understand a little bit more about what you can find on our website, and also what you can find in schools and how to progress in those roles. So we're going to start by thinking about why you might want to work in a school. I think for a lot of people it's quite a rewarding experience, trying to help children thrive, giving back to your local area and your community, and whatever role you have within a school contributes to that in some way, shape or form, even if you're not directly engaging with those children.
Yeah, absolutely. I also think that working in a school brings that kind of team environment. It's very centered around teamwork and working together. And, some people work best independently, but I think a lot of people just crave that kind of team environment, especially when they go into the workplace. So you definitely get that when working in a school, but also that stability. Schools offer a structured, team-orientated workplace with regular hours, holidays, which, can be really appealing for people seeking a stable job with a strong sense of purpose and collaboration.
Definitely. I mean, it's always good to have people to bounce ideas off. And I think in a school, you've always got lots of people that can help do that. And regardless of whatever role you've got lots of different expertises that you can draw on, and you can do things that you might not necessarily have thought of originally, but somebody can come along and go, oh, actually, have you considered doing it this way?
Yeah, it's so good for just that, like you said, that different way of thinking, and actually progressing within yourself and learning new ways and new ideas, and just progressing your career even further just by listening and kind of watching the people that are around you.
And I think those opportunities also lend themselves to kind of growing in that role as well. So learning those skills from other people, taking on those new opportunities, can then lead to you developing yourself and developing, a passion for wanting to go into different roles, or seeing things in a different way and going, well, actually, I could be really useful here. I'm going to go down this avenue and develop myself so that I can help people with this aspect. For example, we had a teaching assistant at our school, and she really wanted to focus on supporting children with additional languages. So she then made that her specialism, and then she supported children across the whole school who were new to the country.
Wow. So
even though you might not start in that respect, you kind of have that opportunity to do those things from learning from the children and the people around you.
Yeah, there's so many opportunities for growth and variety, and things that you can just go, like you say, so many different avenues you could explore. So that's definitely a positive for wanting to work in a school. Absolutely. Working in a school as well, if you think back to that kind of stability and those regular hours and the structure that I mentioned, it can really be something that suits your personal needs. Having a schedule that works around a school timetable can really work around your life, especially for, working parents, people looking to go into part-time work around children, especially if they're coming back from like maternity or paternity leave, and they want to go back in to a different role that maybe does offer those hours that suit their children. Schools can be a great, just such a good fit, especially for part-time work.
And I think as well, it's also got kind of the before and after school aspect of it as well. So even if you're maybe not wanting the hours within the school day, and you maybe suit hours better kind of at the beginning or the end of it, you've got those roles in schools that are things like breakfast club, after school clubs. You could run clubs at the school kind of within there to support the children, which again might work better for you around your life and your timetable and what kind of needs you have going on, but it still allows you to come earn that income and make that contribution to your local area.
Yeah, I think with support roles in schools, there is that level of flexibility. You can choose to add on those additional hours, like you said, by doing clubs, doing wraparound, doing breakfast club, all those things that schools offer. You can build up some extra hours, earn some extra income, and actually have that level of flexibility in certain instances as well.
Definitely.
So obviously we've mentioned the term support roles a few times. We've spoke about why they're great to work in a school, but actually let's just hone in and define what actually is a support role and why are they so important. So a support role is kind of what it says on the tin, really, isn't it? Any supporting role in a school. So anything that is not a leadership position, so, you know, not a deputy head teacher, and not a teacher with QTS. It is all of the other things. Now, anyone who has children in school, who has ever been to school, know there are a lot more people in a school than the leadership, than teachers. All of those other people are the support roles. They are supporting the running of the school. They're supporting everything that happens in the school. And personally, I don't think you can have a school without them.
Oh, absolutely not.
So obviously we've mentioned that there's a lot of different support roles you can have. And what we're going to do now is talk about some of those and what they actually include. Because I think there's a common misconception, especially when you come onto Kent Teach, that a support role is a teaching assistant. And whilst absolutely that is a type of support role, there are so many, so many. So if you were listening previously and you thought, yeah, I really want to work in a school, all of what we've said sounds really good, but I don't want to be a teaching assistant, hang on, there's more. So there's lots of administrative roles. So you've got working in the office, you've got the receptionists, office managers, even, you know, finance roles now. With schools, and especially large academies, a lot of them will have a business manager, finance managers, accountants in some schools, human resources, they'll have HR managers, HR admin assistants. There's just the roles in schools, especially with schools academising, have grown so much. So there's a lot of, you know, admin roles that go beyond working in the school office, although that is still available.
Yeah.
There's also pastoral roles, so ones where you do work a bit more closely with the children than in those admin roles that we spoke about. Things like a learning mentor, a safeguarding officer. I was going to say a flow, but I probably shouldn't use the abbreviation.
Family liaison officer.
There we go. Do you know, maybe we could use the abbreviation?
We can use
Family liaison officer, also known as flow. You know, all of those roles that are there to support children, to support the families as well. I think that's a really big part of some of those pastoral roles, is that it does go beyond the children, it goes to the families and the home life as well. So having that connection and being able to build relationships with people.
Definitely, and I think it's not just about working with families and with the children. Those pastoral roles also do a lot of work within the community to support all parents, not necessarily just specific ones. So it might be that they arrange, you know, uniform shops from like donated old uniforms and things like that to support people with the costings of that. I mean, pastoral staff are really vital, but then again, I think you've also got to consider the technical staff that support the delivery of the curriculum. So your things like your IT technician who supports kind of around the school with not only student staff and logins to their various platforms, but also kind of, you know, the, oh gosh, I want to call them overhead projectors, and that's really old, isn't it?
Yeah, but I also don't know what I would call them instead.
No, because they're like smart screens now, aren't they?
Smart screen.
Smart screen.
Smart
We'll
screen?
go with smart
I
screen.
feel like there's definitely a name. If anyone knows that name,
Please do let us know.
Yeah, let us
know. But they support with that element of kind of supporting the curriculum, because I mean, the amount of times my whiteboard used to go and I had to go back to pen and paper, that was fun. There's a lot of things to remember. But then they'd always come to the rescue. They'd always have a very quick fix and it'd be back up and running. You've then got your art and drama technicians and you know, your DT technicians who provide and support with getting everything ready for that lesson that the teacher's going to deliver, and support with the delivery of that lesson to make sure it's the best experience for the children as well. But then you've also got things like, we had a radio technician on our website earlier. Yeah, so I mean, the range of technician roles is very broad and very vast, and if you have got a particular niche, a particular set of skills that you're thinking, do you know what, I'd really love to support specifically in this area, just have a look, see what's on there, because you never know. Schools are always crying out for different things, and especially as things change in education and change in the curriculum, you know, there may be a need for more types of technician.
Yeah, I think like we were saying earlier, just with the range of roles that schools now have just to support the running of it, you know, I would never have thought, if I wanted to get into radio technician, that to go and look on Kent Teach and look in a school. But actually, what a fantastic opportunity for someone to begin their career or to continue their career in radio, but also in a school. So all those benefits of working in a school that we mentioned, you get that whilst honing in on that that experience that you need and you want in your career.
And I think it's also a really good opportunity for people like career changes. Like if you have been like a radio DJ before now and you're thinking, I kind of want to wind back a little bit.
The light went out.
Now we have our very own IT technician helping us out, our camera technician Danielle. Thank you. Round of applause for Danielle. Round of applause for the technicians.
Talking of technicians, so you may notice there is a slight contrast change. Our lighting has just died and our fabulous technician is off sorting that out, but we're going to carry on. We'll carry on.
Yeah, so yeah, we've got all of our technical staff, but then you've also got the people who support kind of the actual school building and the running of that itself. So your site staff, like your site managers, your groundskeepers, your gardeners, but also included in that you've got people things like caterers, minibus drivers, cleaners, all of those supporting kind of the actual maintenance of the school and the running of that school day to make it as smooth as possible.
They are like behind the scene heroes of the school. Without them, you wouldn't be able to have your school. You wouldn't be able to
get the door.
Yep, you wouldn't be able to get in the school. Day over immediately. Yeah, no, they are so important to the everyday running of the school.
And they also come with their own kind of wealth of knowledge that can really help all the other staff with what they need as well. So, you know, if teacher needed something kind of created for their classroom, or they wanted kind of some furniture moved or new coat hooks or whatever have you, you know, they might come up with a really creative solution for that might support the classroom itself and being more functional for the space it has.
Yeah, and actually I think, you know, I've worked with some absolutely fantastic grounds managers, caretakers, and, you know, one memory really sticks out to me is we had some children in the class I was teaching that were really interested in gardening, but the school I was working at didn't really have those facilities. You know, some city schools don't. And the caretaker started building these big, like plant pots, just really big, I don't know the correct word for them, huge plant pots, out of all these wooden pallets that we had like our deliveries coming on. And then in the mornings when these children, because they usually came in for breakfast club, he would take them and they started doing gardening and he developed that. So whilst sometimes it's not a role that ordinarily has that much interaction with the students, I think it can be what you want to make of it. And, you know, he noticed that, he did that, and that was just so great for the students and their well-being. And then obviously he's managed to upskill himself as well in leading an activity, leading a small group of children, doing like a gardening intervention. So yeah, absolutely wonderful.
Yeah. And I think that kind of leads us quite nicely into that kind of last category that we've got, which is that kind of specialist skill sort of staff members. So people who have upskilled themselves into a position where they can really support kind of, I'm going to say niche needs. So for example, if you've maybe got kind of, I know some schools have kind of autism units at some schools if they find themselves in a position where they need that. So it'd be people that have that knowledge of how to specifically support children with autism.
Or just any
sort of SEN.
Really.
And then again, you've got your English as an additional language supports. You've got your kind of one-to-one TAs who might specialise in exactly what that child needs according to their educational healthcare plan. So again, really helping children to access that curriculum, giving them what they need with that specialist knowledge that they've developed.
Yeah, and I think with all the roles we've covered, if you're thinking, yeah, this sounds like a bit of me, I really want to explore this further, almost all of these roles at some point over the year will appear on our website. So I'd definitely recommend going on, having a look, looking through, just filtering down to a support category, just looking at all of the different types of roles that there are. I know we've not really spoken about teaching assistants, TAs. They are an absolutely valuable support staff, but I think we kind of want to do a bit of myth busting. And a lot of people think, you know, in schools there's the teachers and then support staff is TAs, but there's so much more than that. And hopefully we see that now. There's so much more than that.
But that doesn't lessen the impact of the TAs, because obviously they are,
not.
like you say, they are vital staff within a school and really do support in the delivery of the curriculum. I think naturally, with the name of our website, that is what you would assume to find on it.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So yeah, we cover all of these roles, and they may be known by slightly different names sometimes.
I think it depends on what the school needs, and obviously the job title will always reflect the responsibilities, but sometimes it may just change ever so slightly. So it might instead of an assistant, it might be a coordinator. Instead of a manager, it might be an operative or something along those lines. But it doesn't change the kind of knowledge and the skills that you would need in order to access that role. It might just be that you need to whip in a few different names that it might go by to really see all of the options that you have available to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if you're looking at a role and you're not sure by the title, open it up, have a look at the job advert, look at the job description and person specification, see if that sounds like something that you are interested in, that suits the skills that you have and that you want to develop.
And I think, as we've said, schools are continually changing and new jobs come up all the time because of the way that schools change and the way that education changes. So new roles develop all the time. I know that we get schools kind of phoning us up going, "Oh, can you add this role title to your job list?" And we do, and obviously when we add a new role title, it doesn't always mean that everybody knows that role title exists.
And just like that, we're back with the good lighting. That was a request of ours when we said we'd do these webinars. Good lighting.
And so, also good technicianing.
Good technicianing. Round of applause for Danielle. Off-screen queen.
So I think we were talking about all the different roles. I'm going to talk about the progression within those roles as well.
Absolutely.
Because, I mean, within school there is so many opportunities for continued professional development, also known as CPD, because I am going to use the acronym later, and I don't want to start using it now and confuse everybody about what it means. So there are lots of CPD opportunities in schools for these roles, which means you can then upskill yourself and then maybe even progress into a slightly different role with the new knowledge that you have. So on our website, we do offer a career support toolkit. Within this toolkit, there is a breakdown of all the different support roles that we've just listed, by category, not necessarily by job type, because I think otherwise the support toolkit would be about 50 pages long.
Yeah. Maybe more.
But within that, you've also got a list of courses that may support that role. So for example, if I take admin staff, within that sort of section, you've got courses on managing pupil records, information about GDPR, and courses on how to be GDPR compliant, as opposed to maybe kind of some of those technical courses, which may then obviously develop that skill set of that person with, how to rig a lighting system and things like that. So there's a lot of useful information on there. So please do go to our website in our career hub. If you scroll down, there's a section called career.
We can get a link.
Yeah, we can get a link
at the bottom.
There's just a link.
We've got the nod.
Which will take you to the right space. But then also within that career support toolkit, there's a few different bubbles which show you the different roles that are available and also kind of how you'd progress. So for example, I'm going to stick with my office staff here, only because it's the fresh one in my mind. So if you started at a school and you were an office assistant, you might then progress up to be an office manager. You might then progress to be a business assistant or a business manager. And then you could even progress even further to be kind of the trust business support officer or manager. And the career support toolkit just kind of helps you understand that journey and hopefully directs you into some of those courses that might support you with that journey if that's what you choose to do. We're not saying by any stretch of the imagination that you have to progress. I mean, if you really love the role that you're in and you want to continue doing that, then absolutely fine. That is completely your decision. But I mean, I know some people are quite ambitious within their careers and are always looking for that opportunity to grow and develop. So there are those opportunities within schools as well. I'm also going to just jump in here and talk about apprenticeships as well, because there are more and more of those for support positions. On our website, we do get a lot of kind of business support assistant apprenticeships as well. So even if maybe you don't have currently the right sort of skill set to do that role, maybe looking and seeing if there's an apprenticeship available in it, maybe an opportunity for you to kind of upskill yourself while also earning a bit of money.
Yeah, I think apprenticeships in schools are becoming huge recently. I think especially within the support category. So like you said, definitely worth looking at and considering if you're a career changer and you're looking for something new, if you're early in your career and you're wanting to do an apprenticeship and get into some work, yeah, absolutely.
And I think within the apprenticeship, and I'm going to say that you should go and check dependent on what the apprenticeship is, there is now an apprenticeship levy, which a lot of the funding for that course can be taken from. So it means that, you know, there may not even be a cost to the individual that is doing that apprenticeship because it is funded by the government or funded by whichever body is providing the apprenticeship levy.
Always worth checking.
Always worth checking, but definitely something to look into, especially if you are looking to develop and you are looking to get that kind of qualification and earn money on the job at the same time.
Yeah.
So I think we've both alluded to the fact that we've previously worked in schools and have had these vital experiences with support staff, and I think it'd be a really nice opportunity just to kind of talk about some of those, because for me, I can reel off so many different roles that have helped me in so many different ways, and I'm sure you can as well.
Yeah, no, we really, really can. I mean, I can think of so many examples where various different support roles have helped me. Obviously, I've already given the one about the caretaker and how he didn't even help me, he helped those children, which actually in turn did help me because then they were ready for their day and they were calm and their well-being was just so looked after. And
I think from that, it got me thinking about the support staff and the kind of caretakers I've had at my school. And I worked in year 6 quite a lot. At the end of school production, they're such big things.
Yes.
So many props. We did one year, and I think these are specifically made for schools. You know, those ones that are kind of spoofs of shows or spoofs of like already existing films and TV things, but made for children. With some like
made for 30 of them.
Yeah, made for 30 of them. There was one that we did that was all about TV. So the whole production was about kind of the different shows, and it was almost like the audience were watching it and like channel skipping. So then there'd be like one that was like Strictly Come Dancing, one that was like, oh my gosh, what's it called, like The Chase or something with the answers and stuff.
Fun.
And what we wanted was to kind of frame the stage that we had at school with a TV so that we could really give the audience the feel of that. And honestly, the caretaker was absolutely amazing. There were hooks that were put into the ceiling. They helped us to create the frame for it. We then kind of had to go up ladders all together and hung it up there, and it stayed. I was very impressed. I mean, not that I doubted them at all, but I mean, you know, something suspended from the ceiling while productions happen, you know, I was dreading the giant fall, but
of course.
It stood the test of time and it looked so amazing and the kids loved it.
Wow, no, that sounds incredible.
I mean, I've also had a few different roles within a school, and once I was a reading lead, and obviously with that you had to kind of manage budgets. You were given kind of a finance system to log into and navigate to try and, you know, manage your budgets, and if you wanted resources for your subject, you put the requests through in that sort of way. And I like IT. There are some systems I don't get on with. Finance online systems where you have to do things in a certain way and have to have certain boxes ticked and signed, and you know, you've got to make sure you choose the right category of what it is that you're buying. I was having a mare. And our school business manager was amazing at talking me through it and kind of saying, these are the main ones that you're going to use, ignore the rest. You know, really explaining what those categories were, when to use them, when not to use them. And I think not only did it help me to develop, I think it also made his life a lot easier if I put it through the right way the first time, rather than have to send back to me going, Ashley, why are you requesting sports equipment when you're doing reading? So, you know, I think it's about sharing that knowledge. It's about working together and utilising everybody's skill sets to kind of support you and to support them in doing their job to the best they can without having to be like, no, you've done it wrong again, come on, back you go, try again.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what you said about everyone working together and just that coming together piece, I think when I was teaching, we had this absolutely fantastic like office assistant, and you know, ordinarily you'd think, you know, office assistant, they're in the office, they have some interaction with children. Depending on your school, you may have a lot of interaction with the children. But she was so involved with the children and she wanted to make their time in school as magical as possible. And of course, the most magical time of the year, Christmas, which in a school is absolutely magical. But, you know, it's a busy time. You're busy in your personal life. You've got the lead up. The kids know Christmas is coming.
Oh yeah.
So there's that extra excitement to deal with. But she used to do the Elf on the Shelf. So I worked in primary, and some of the class teachers would do it. It's hard to kind of manage, and you'd always get in and think, oh my gosh, I forgot the elf. He's not moved. There's already children coming in. They're going to see me touch the elf. She just took over. She took over, and it was like this school-wide Elf on the Shelf, and she made it so magical, and it got more and more elaborate. So, we started off with the elf was on the climbing frame, and, he put some fake snow on the climbing frame, and that was great. By nearing the end of term, the library was a full winter wonderland. It was completely full. It was incredible. And the elf, had decorated all of it. And, the excitement and the joy from those children. And actually all the classes got to take in turns, and it became an activity for every class to then go and take their class to the winter grotto. And she stayed behind the scenes. Obviously, she didn't want to ruin that magic for the children, but that was just such a wonderful and festive time that, as teachers, I loved it. The children loved it, but she was the one that was able to do that for them across the whole school. And I just think the power of being able to have such a positive impact on, the children and the staff was amazing.
Yeah. Oh, it sounds magical. So my TA also did Elf on the Shelf, and she took it on herself as well. So it's lovely that it's something that can be done kind of by any sort of member across the school. Because my TA, we did it for our class, but we had different sets for different kind of portions of the year. So even though it was just for my class, a lot of children from other classes also got to see this elf, and when they had come in for maths, they'd be like, where is it today? Where's it gone? And we had lockers in our classrooms, but strangely, none of the keys, there was only one that was open, and we managed to speak to the caretaker who had a set of keys, and we locked him in a locker one day with a little note that says, help
the elf or the caretaker?
Oh, the elf. I mean,
just always clarifying.
Yes, we're not locking caretakers in lockers. But yeah, we locked the elf in the little locker, and it's got like a little clear window. So there was a little note saying, help, I farted. Kids loved it.
They absolutely would love that.
And I think a lot of teaching assistants have that knack of being able to really step in and go, do you know what, I can do that. And supporting where, lives are busy. The school environment, the school day is incredibly hectic and busy, and a lot of support staff, including TAs, have that ability just to swoop in and support without being asked where needed. And I think that is just honestly the most rewarding thing for the children, because they're getting the support that they need, but also the most supportive thing you can do for another member of staff, kind of seeing the need and dealing with it.
Absolutely.
So all these roles that we've mentioned, we are giving a glowing view of these roles, and I think for the most part there is that rewarding nature, there is that positive kind of connections that you build with your teaching staff, with your leadership team, with your colleagues, with the children. But we're not saying it's all sunshine and rainbows all the time. We're under no illusions here. I mean, having worked in schools, both of us, we know, every job has its good days and its bad, but it doesn't take away from that rewarding nature, from that kind of ability to feel needed and wanted and supported within your school. So, and I think that's what schools are there to support with as well. When it is overwhelming, when it is one of those bad days, you've got that support network around you to pull on. You've got people that can help support you through those tough times, who can help you deal with those issues. And it's just about being open and honest about it, because that's how you develop as a person.
Absolutely. I think, all jobs come with their challenges.
Yeah.
And what could be a challenge for one person or a challenging day for one person might not for another person. So everyone is different, and all roles are different. So actually leaning on your colleagues and all of those great reasons we spoke about for why to work in a school, and having that support network, having the schedule, and just all of those things are all the things that will then come in and support you on the days that are a challenge, which, any job you have
Yeah.
is going to have its challenging days.
And I think what we said earlier about people swooping in to support you when you needed, that's true for those bad days too. If you're having a bit of a rough time, people will be able to see.
Mm-hmm.
People will be able to come in and support you when they see that you need help. And I think that kind of collective environment of people that are willing to support and help you and the children and everything that kind of runs in a school is what makes it such a unique place to work. So we often get asked quite a lot of different questions about support roles. So I thought it'd be a really good opportunity for us to kind of go through some of those frequently asked questions and just kind of cover off those answers, make sure people are really aware of what's needed and kind of get rid of any confusion, really.
Yeah.
So one we do get asked quite a lot is what is needed to be a teaching assistant. So teaching assistants, they do have a specific qualification, but they're not always a necessity. So teaching assistants in the UK need a minimum of a C or a level 4 or equivalent in English, maths, and I believe science, but I think mainly English and maths. I think science is only if you're primary, if I'm right. While having a teaching assistant qualification may be an advantage, it's not always a necessity. And often, if you have a lot of the soft skills that are involved with being a teaching assistant, like really good pastoral care, good ability to build relationships with children, good kind of interpersonal skills, good organisation, a lot of schools will be willing to kind of employ you and potentially even put you on that course while you're in employment. So it is just worth having a little look at the job description, seeing what they're asking for as essential and seeing what they're asking as desirable. A lot of people do ask for experience working with children for teaching assistant roles. That doesn't always mean in the capacity of a teaching assistant. If you're a parent, if you've done childcare duties, if you volunteered, you know, all of those skills that you would use with your own children, with other children, with, you know, supporting your nephew with their homework. They're all examples you can draw on because that is where you have taken on that role of supporting a child.
With teaching assistants, it is very dependent on the school's requirements and what they need. It could be that they know the class that teaching assistant is going to be going into, and therefore they do need someone who's done it before, they do need someone with a qualification, and they will specify that. But there are others who, you know, they are looking for someone who is willing to learn and has the passion. I think the passion for the role. I think if there is ever any confusion, just contacting the school and saying, you know, I see you're asking for this, but I'm really passionate, I'm willing to learn. Is it worth me applying? I don't know many schools that would say no.
We spoke about apprenticeships earlier. There are more and more teaching assistant apprenticeships being offered by schools because, much like kind of what we mentioned earlier, it is developing that teaching assistant on the job so that it gives them the confidence to do the job well. But again, you'd have to have a little look at that job description and see what qualifications are needed for that course as well. We also get asked a lot what you should expect from working in a school, and I think this answer does vary because I think it varies depending on the school. It depends what your contracted hours are. It depends on what your roles and responsibilities are. But in general, I would say most people are expected, including teaching staff, I would say, to be in school before school starts. Not like hours and hours before school starts, but kind of around that half hour before the children turn up. You can expect a lot of support. You can expect every day to be different. And to be honest, you can actually expect to have quite a lot of fun building that relationship that's kind of a positive balance of that teaching and supportive kind of adult is a really important part.
So another one we get asked a lot is, you know, do I need to give so much detail on my application form if I want to be a facility staff member, or if I want to be a cleaner, or if I want to be one of those roles that isn't having that much interaction with children? The answer in short is yes, you do. With our application forms, with any school application forms, they have to meet the standard of keeping children safe in education, which means there are certain things that schools have got to ask at the point of the application. So most schools will take a CV with an application, but actually it is that application form So if you haven't worked in a school before and you've just given your CV, it can be a bit of a shock, it can be a bit of a change, but it is just about keeping children safe and safeguarding children, and answering all of those questions is part of that. So one that we get a lot is, do I need to give my full employment history, especially if you're a career changer, or if we keep on the example of cleaners, if you've been a cleaner for 20 years, you might have done lots of different, worked in lots of different places. That's a lot of employment history to have to put in. However, it's so important because schools need to see where you've been, what you've been doing, because they need to ensure that they can safeguard their children. Even if you think, well, my hours are before school starts and when school finishes, why do I need to do all of this? I don't need to safeguard children, I'm not around them. You're in their world. You are cleaning and you're in an area where their personal details could be, their personal effects could be. And just because you don't think you're going to see a child, they will pop up. So it is the school's job to safeguard and make sure that every member of staff has gone through all of the correct procedures, and that includes at application stage. Now, we do have guidance on how to write a good application. There's another webinar on that, and that explains in further detail all about that application form, all about the process and what you need to do. So definitely check it out. I'm sure we can link it somewhere. So another question we get a lot is, how do I actually find these roles? And I know we've mentioned it a lot, a shameless plug, but go on our website, have a look for these roles. If you're not sure what you want to do, but you want a support role, you can filter and just click support.
Yeah.
Think about what's practical for you. Is there set locations you want to work in? Think about the travel time and where you would like to work. Filter down to those as well, and try and redefine those results as much as you can. If you look through and you think, actually, I'm not really interested in the administrative side of things, I'm more interested in the technician side of things, well then once you've put support, once you've filtered to your location, you can filter and see if you want part-time or full-time, just all of those kinds of non-negotiables for you. Then put in technician and see what comes up. Because I think sometimes when you look on a jobs board and you just look at all the support roles, that can be really overwhelming because there's loads. So thinking about it practically and how you can filter it down to suit your requirements then gives you a list of jobs that you would actually be interested in and is feasible for you.
I'd also say at this point, if there are quite a lot of filters, quite a lot of things that you want, if there aren't as many jobs on there as you would like, it doesn't have as much choice, it doesn't mean there won't be. It just might be at different times of years. We do typically get more of different job types. So, for example, teachers have to give their notice, I think it's half term in advance, isn't it? Yeah, half term in advance. So naturally, we get more teaching roles kind of towards Christmas. Support staff maybe don't have as long a notice period, so they may come up more sporadically throughout the year. But typically, I think it's kind of March, October sort of times where we do see more support roles. But it doesn't mean they're not going to be there. And I think if you are actively looking, having an account on our website is really useful because you can set those preferences up so that if maybe there isn't one when you're actively looking on our website, you can set those preferences up so that an email will come to you when a suitable role that meets your criteria does arise, and then you can go back to the website at that time.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the final FAQ that we're going to go over is, we do get a lot of people asking, I have no experience working in a school, how would I get into one of these roles? And I know, Ashley, you spoke about this for teaching assistants. And I think there's lots of different opportunities. So I won't talk too in depth about them because I think we've covered off a few, but you could look at apprenticeships for some of these roles and go in and learn on the job. You could also look at your transferable skills. So as Ashley mentioned earlier, with teaching assistants, you may not have had experience being a teaching assistant, but you may have experience in the areas that they are asking you for. So just really consider and think about what your transferable skills are and what you could bring to that role. But also consider volunteering, even, any time that you can spare. Volunteering in that role to get some of that experience will then really boost your application and help you stand out if you've had a little bit of experience in some of those roles.
And I'd say with volunteering as well, there are loads of different ways to do this. It could be that you approach your local primary school, but there are also a lot of things online that can actually do this. I mean, she might not like me for saying this, but my mum volunteers for a charity called Bookmark, which essentially is reading with children, but it's reading with children in lots of different areas, and you do it virtually.
Oh, wow.
So it means that necessarily you don't have to go explicitly to that school and travel in, but you're still getting that experience working with that child. They train you beforehand, because obviously they kind of have to, you're not just going to be let loose to read with a child. It's kind of an active scheme that supports the reading development of children. But I know that that's not the only one out there that does that. So it might be worth, if maybe there's not a school that's local to you that's easily accessible, having a look online and seeing what volunteer options there are to do things virtually.
Amazing.
So I think that is most of the frequently asked questions. If we have forgotten anything, if there is anything that you're thinking, well, actually, I'd really like to know this, please do let us know in the comments. We will reply to them as quickly as we are able, with as much information as we are able to, or at least direct you to somewhere that will have the correct information. And I think it just leaves us to say a big thank you for watching. And if you do need anything else, or you want some support or some more guidance about how to fill out an application, start an account, please do get in touch with us. Our details are on our website under our contact section.